Children's Moods by Harriet Trowbridge, published in Good Housekeeping in 1886. How shall we treat them? If I had never had but my 3 older children, remarked a lady to me not long since, I could not have understood half the difficulties and discouragements of many other mothers in bringing up their children. I remember at one time how I prided myself on my superior management when I contrasted certain unruly youngsters with my own 3 gentle little ones. It seemed to me entirely the mother's fault, as to her falls mostly the training of the young child, if it grew up lawless and disobedient. But when my 2 boys came, it was like an invasion of Goths and Vandals. Pet theories and long-established nursery laws were boldly set at defiance, and when, with the frequent help of the strong paternal authority, they were safely brought out of their young colthood, I was a wiser, as well as a more charitable woman in my judgment of others. I am now inclined to think that good children, like poets, are born, not made, that is, that more depends upon the inborn qualities than paternal training. But what would your boys have been without the training? What do they show as the result? Why, they are splendid fellows, was the proud response, and well worth all the trouble they gave us, but oh, with a merry laugh, they were really terrible children. So it often happens that in the same family will be found children of strangely opposite physique, temperament, and character. The same rules cannot be brought to bear on all alike. The slothful, indolent child must be urged, compelled to the necessary exertion, the too eager one restrained and held in check, and what infinite tact and discrimination, as well as firmness, tenderness, and patience are required to mold and train these diverse natures. As an illustration of some of these difficulties, a certain family comes to mind. There are 4 children, each entirely different from the other, and yet with strong family characteristics running through them all. The eldest is a delicate boy, quiet, gentle, and sensitive to a degree. As a little child he would grow white and faint at the sight of a drop of blood from a pinprick. We older people can hardly realize the susceptibility of such a fine organization to all disturbing influences. As an instance, one morning there seemed to be an electrical condition of the domestic atmosphere that ascended from the basement until it pervaded the whole house. Mistress and maids were out of sorts. Finally it reached the nursery, and Jamie soon gave signs of the infection. At first it was a troubled look on his face, then a little whimper, and finally the fitful, petulant cry, settling into an uncontrollable wail that would not be quieted, and all without any apparent cause. The mother, with nerves all unstrung, was powerless to soothe her boy, the nurse equally so, and at last, when he seemed almost on the verge of convulsions, a visitor of whom he was very fond, took him screaming and struggling in her arms, and carried him without a word into the cool, darkened parlor, where she sat down and held him firmly but silently until his screams ceased and only a long-drawn sob told of the storm that had shaken his tender soul. At last, when he lay quiet and exhausted in her arms, she said gently, "What made my little boy cry so?" "I don't know," hiding his face. Well, I do." He lifted his eyes inquiringly. "What was it?" he asked. "It was an evil spirit." "Where was it?" "It was there, laying her hand on his heart. And it made Jamie very naughty." "How do you know?" "I saw it in Jamie's eyes." He lay a moment considering, then drew himself up with wide open eyes. "Is it there now?" "It is just going away, but it is there a little bit. When it is all gone you will be so glad you will have to laugh, then I shall know." Down went the head again, almost under her arm, then suddenly he sat upright and gave a little laugh, rather uncertainly at first, but with a very determined air. "Now is it gone?" A close examination followed of eyes, mouth, and throat, and by the time it ended Jamie was laughing gleefully over the discomfiture of the bad little spirit that made him cry. Clearly, it was an evil spirit which could only have been exercised in quiet and peacefulness. It was the stillness and the strong arms holding him that calmed the quivering frame. How often do we, children of a larger growth, need the everlasting arms and the stillness of his peace to soothe the tumult in our souls. Lily, a younger sister of Jamie, has much the same delicate physique, but is entirely different in many other respects. Fragile as her snowy prototype, she seemed in her babyhood almost too delicate to bear the rude winds of this world, and the mother heart held her very closely and tenderly at all times. So, perhaps the little one grew over-exacting and oversensitive to any fancied hurt or neglect. Anyway, she was given to moods which came, even under the most cheerful conditions. Here is an instance. Lily rises in the morning slowly, reluctantly, eats but little breakfast, and climbs the stairs afterward with weary, dragging feet. No, she does not want to go out and play with Charlie, it is too cold. Charlie calls her a baby and runs off with a whoop and a bang. The mother is busy in her own room. Nurse has gone downstairs, and Lily sits, a very small maiden, all forlorn, alone, melancholy, deserted. Vain are all the allurements of playhouse, picture books, or dolls. Way down in the depths of her childish heart is a tiny grievance, and she is nursing it to keep it warm, until it shall have gained strength to break forth into wail and lamentation. The mother rocking her baby in the next room hears a deep-drawn sigh and peeps in the nursery. "Oh, here is my Lily," she cries in most beguiling tones. "I know she wants to come and help Mama." Lily shakes her drooping head. Mama reads the familiar signs but wisely refrains from any apparent notice. She knows the cloud must burst and the rains must fall before the air will be clear again, so laying the favorite doll in the unresponsive arms, she returns to her room. Presently she heard a sobbing sigh, then another and another, each increasing in volume and intensity. A troubled look clouds the gentle face. "My poor little girlie," she says softly to herself. And she opens the nursery door and beholds such a tragic sight. In her low chair, one arm hanging limp over the back, the other down at her side, sits the woebegone Lily. Tears streaming down her cheeks, weeping and sobbing as if her heart would break. "My dear child, what is the matter?" The answer comes brokenly, with a reproachful gaze into the mother's face. "I haven't got anybody to wipe away my tears." A world of pent-up anguish breaks forth with the last word, and the next moment the trembling form is in the mother's arms, and the tears are wiped and kissed away until there are no more to come, and Lily is ready to go and be Mama's dear little girl again. There are mothers, alas, that it should be said, who in such a case would give the child something to cry for, but this mother takes the gentler, and it seems to me the wiser course. Certainly in the instance quoted it has proved the wiser, for, as physical causes lay back of the mental disturbance, with improved health, the child has mostly outgrown the extreme sensitiveness which might so easily under less judicious treatment have settled into an uncontrollable ill temper. Occasions like these are often most difficult to deal with. It is so hard to know just the right thing to do, and knowing, still harder to command one's time and temper to do it. Afterward, when the fret and the worry of the day is over, we can see where we have failed, and there is no health in us because of the disquiet of our souls. Would that we mothers might always so govern our children and ourselves that when the little feet shall have entered that way, thorny and cruel and cold and gray, or perchance traveled out into that dim path beyond our following, we need not recall with aching hearts the many things we might have done and we did them not.